They say that the best place to start a story is somewhere in the middle, and I think that for my story, it's the perfect place to start. It was the summer of 2013, and I found myself in an operating room of the Klagenfurt Hospital in Austria, surrounded by doctors, nurses, and medical students from all across Europe. I stood at the head of the operating table, and on the table in front of me, there lay a brain-dead woman. As the transplant surgery began, something amazing happened, and my life was changed forever. Even from a very young age, I was always fascinated by science, and particularly by the field of medicine. And I discovered very early on that I had a strong passion for helping others. And so for me, being a doctor just kind of seemed like the perfect way of bringing those two pieces of my life together. But it wasn't until that summer that I knew without a doubt in my mind that medicine was most certainly the path that I was destined to take. Last summer, I was fortunate enough to be one of 2 students chosen for a medical externship through my university. It was a 6-week internship program at the Medical University of Graz in Austria, working in the transplant department. In the mornings, we got to do rounds with the doctors where we learned how to draw blood, administer medicine, rebandage different wounds and openings, and even how to suture. And in the afternoons, we got to observe and assist in a variety of different surgeries. Surgeries that ranged from transplant surgeries to cardiovascular surgeries to knee surgeries, and it was really, really cool. I loved every minute of it. And when I look back on my internship experience as a whole, all of it was life-changing. But there is one moment that stands out above the rest as a moment of truly profound importance and insight into my life, and that was the day of that surgery. During my 3rd weekend in Graz, I was called in for a transplant surgery in a nearby town. Upon arrival, I was informed that the patient was a woman in her late 20s who had been declared brain dead the day before. And so, by Austrian law, her organs were to be donated to those in need. Her heart was for Germany, her liver for Belgium, and her kidneys for Austria. Now, it seems a bit strange for me to be referring to her living, beating organs as things like trivial objects that could be easily shipped off to other places. But in fact, they were much more than that. For me, they were symbols of her life, and they were pieces of her that were going from her body to other individuals, but to save their lives. And it was absolutely incredible for me to get to witness and experience this continuation of life through her organ donation. So as the surgery progressed a little bit further and one organ after another was removed, a very strange feeling came over me when I realized that something was missing from this surgery, something that had been so commonplace in all the other surgeries that I'd been in, and that was the sound of the heart rate monitor. The sound of the heartbeat, that doot, 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 in the background, that had become like a song that was a part of every single surgery that I'd been in, and when I realized that I wasn't going to hear that song anymore after the heart was removed, that was a very important moment for me. And it was when I realized that my life was changed. When that moment happened, something changed in me. And I could suddenly envision myself in this woman's position, as if I were on that operating table, looking up at the doctors as they operated on me. And it was in that moment, when I was envisioning myself in her position, that I was reminded of one of my favorite characters, Augustus Waters from John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. Now, Augustus Waters is a young teenage boy battling with osteosarcoma. And he's a very special character to me because of his hopes and his dreams and his fears. His greatest fear is an eternal oblivion in which he is not remembered. He can't stand the idea that with his death, his life and the person that he was could be forgotten. And so he wants to make his life matter. Augustus believes that life's greatest importance is about meaningfully impacting humanity and leaving behind a legacy for others. And so I thought of Augustus Waters as I stood above this woman and metaphorically in her body. A woman that, of course, I had no prior knowledge of. I didn't know who she was, where she came from, none of that. But I did know one thing. Somehow, she now found herself in a very interesting state of being. She was in an in-between. She wasn't quite dead, and she wasn't quite alive. She was in a gray area. And so the more I thought about this woman and the position that she now found herself in this gray area, the more I began to place myself in this gray area. And so I thought to myself, Natalie, you now find yourself in this gray area. What are the things that you think about? Well, of course, you think about your life, right? You think about the things that you've done, the people that you've met, and the things that you hope to accomplish with your life. So that's what I did. I reflected on my life. And although I'm very proud of the things that I've done and the experiences that I've had, I couldn't help but feel like there was something missing. Like I wanted, and more importantly, I needed to do more with my life. Like I wanted to make my life matter. And so I asked myself a very difficult question. If I were to die tomorrow, would I be happy with the life that I've led? And my answer to this question in that moment was that I would be okay with the life that I've led, but that I wouldn't be fully satisfied because I want to do so much more with whatever time I have left. I want to make my life matter. And it was in that moment when I realized that I knew that I had to drastically change the way in which I lived my life. I'm only 20 years old, and I'd like to think that I have decades left in my life. But unfortunately, I don't know how much time I have left. None of us do. My patient taught me that. I could have 80 years, 10 years, 5 months, or maybe even just a day. And so I knew that I had to change the way that I lived my life and the way that I viewed the world around me. That I had to move forward and live every single day that I have left with as much meaning as possible. And now meaning can come in different forms for different people. For me, meaning comes from the relationships and the experiences that I'll have in my life. For someone else, meaning can come from friends, work, family, love, from anywhere. By the end of that surgery, I had promised myself to never forget that day or that woman, because she really did change me and the way that I view others and the world. When the time comes when I really do have to enter into that gray area for the final time, when I'm crossing over from one side to the other, I want to be able to look back on my life and proudly say that I'm happy with the life that I've led, and that my life will be remembered for the good that I brought into this world. And perhaps I won't know the good that I brought into this world. Perhaps I may never know the impact of my life and my actions. My patient certainly never knew that with her one life, she was going to be saving 3, possibly 4 other lives. And I'm okay with not knowing, because I'm going to live every single day that I have left as though at the end of it, I were to enter into that gray area and ask myself this very same question. Would I be happy with the life that I've led? Thank you.